Hello, everyone. I'm Councilmember Emmanuel Remy, and I am pleased to be here today with GCAC Executive Director, the President of GCAC, Tom Katzenmeyer. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Emmanuel. It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
It's exciting to have you here today to talk a little bit more about GCAC, the arts community, and talk about what it means to Columbus during this coronavirus pandemic. And so with the many challenges that are facing individuals across America, the impact of the shelter in place, and I want to find out a little bit more what the impact's been directly on the arts community, because a lot of people may not think of the arts community first and foremost, but we know, in full disclosure, I am on the GCAC board. We know that art creates culture by bringing communities together. It stimulates new business and economic growth for businesses large and small. It draws attention to communities by driving tourism, and it inspires our young minds and all minds by embracing individual creativity. So, Tom, I know firsthand that you have a great team in place, and you at GCAC, you've been continuing to be a big advocate for the arts community during this pandemic, which includes bringing resources online for our local artists. So what changes have you noticed in the arts community as a result of everything coronavirus?
Okay, that's a great place to start. And I also want to start by thanking you for serving on our board. You give us hours and hours. You don't just come to board meetings, but you give us hours and hours of committee time, and you're at all the big arts events, and that's very meaningful to us and to the city. So thank you for your service.
My pleasure.
Here's what's happening. Everything's closed. I mean, it's tragic, and people in this city love their arts, and they love to participate and engage in the arts. And like everybody else, like the restaurants, the hotels, the businesses, the arts had to close. So COSI, the Museum of Art, Franklin Park Conservatory, Ballet Met, all the Kappa theaters, downtown, the Short North Stage, everything has been closed since the governor ordered things to be closed. And now it looks like they just extended the stay-at-home order until the end of May. So you're going to see things continue to stay closed, and that has a major impact on the city. The arts have about 14,000 local employees, and it's about a $400 to $500 million economic impact locally. So like everything else, it's been shut down. The arts organizations have furloughed people, laid off people. If you've got friends working in the arts, you know what their situation is. We've all tried to hang on as long as we possibly can. We've all gotten our PPP money from the federal government. We all got into that first round, the first CARES Act that passed. We worked through our banks and got loans so we could keep as many people on the payroll as long as we possibly could. So now that we're beginning to see what might be the end of this, and I say might, I underline the word might, we're beginning to talk about reopening and how we might reopen. So just like the restaurants and the hotels and the businesses, we're allowed to gather in groups of 10 right now, which doesn't really help us because we normally have large gatherings when you think of the Ohio Theater and the Palace Theater and how many people go through the art museum. So every organization is really working on that and what kind of supply, what's going to be required of us so people are safe. Like what kind of supplies? I know at my own office we're working remotely, but when we come back, everyone's going to be required to wear masks, and all visitors are going to be required to wear masks. So I'm thinking that that's what it's going to look like for a while. And then we're going to have hand sanitizers and everything else you would expect. So the impact on the arts has been devastating and very dire, but we're going to come out of it like everyone else, but it's going to be a slow return.
Yeah, I think adapt is the key word in this entire pandemic.
Now, I'll tell you, there's been a lot of creativity during this period of time. I mean, I'd urge your listeners to think of whatever your favorite arts organization is, go online to their website, and people are really doing creative things, tours, virtual performances, Pro Musica. I don't know whether people caught this yet last weekend, but on the last day of the NFL draft, draft. Pro Musica performed with Leslie Odom Jr. On the last day of the draft. You can see that on Pro Musica's website. They did it remotely. They were the backup music to him, so we got a nice hit out of that for the city of Columbus. But enormously creative stuff. The Harmony Project doing kind of a citywide sing-along. I mean, it just goes on and on. The museum, Franklin Park, you can tour the garden, even though you can't get in right now. So it's brought about all this incredible creativity too.
That is the exciting thing. I agree with you on that. What resources has GCAC put in place for local artists at this time?
So that's a great question. We almost immediately started an emergency relief fund for artists. Part of our grant making program, as you know, is for large organizations, small organizations, but we also, we're a 501c3, a nonprofit. We do grant money directly to artists. So we started an emergency fund because artists are part of, like, I'd call it the gig economy. Most of them have 3 or 4 jobs. So they're an artist and they practice their art. But then they're also like an Uber driver, or they're a bartender or a waiter, and they cobble it together. So they've been like doubly or triply hit by this, because not only are they not able to practice their art, but it's possible they've lost their other employment too. So we set up an emergency fund. We had an application, online application. We made it very, very simple for people. You can apply to receive funding from us. We capped the grant at $850. So it's really designed to help you pay your rent, buy groceries, make your car payment, whatever. And we've given out 382 awards as of today, and that was $293,000. Awesome. And we raised it all privately, which tells me even in, you know, a lot of people are given to the food bank and the community shelter board, and we love that and support that, but people care about their artists, and they are really sending us small amounts of money, $25, $50 checks. We had a lot of corporate gifts. Equitas gave us $25,000. PNC gave us $30,000. The Crane Group gave us $22,500. We've had numerous $1,000, $5,000 checks. We got an $8,000 check from a family. It's been very, very heartening. So that's just been great. So we have, to artists, we have given out as of today $293,000 in 382 grants. I'm very proud that we were quickly able. The other thing that we've done, which is completely fun, and we did this with a group that came together during the pandemic called Can't Stop Columbus, which I think you're familiar with. Jordan Davis organized. It's a group of millennials. I'm not a millennial, but there's like 1,000 of them. And they came up with this idea about doing curbside concerts.
Yes.
And they set up this program. We're funding the music. And actually, I think council has a little bit of money on this. It was going to at the next council meeting. So we thank you for that appropriation. But it's been great. The Columbus Foundation has been involved in it. The Street Light Guild, which is Scott Woods' organization. Doug and Monica Kreidler personally have given money to it. But here's what it is. You can request a personal concert for kind of, they're targeted for elderly people or people that are shut in or that might be depressed or lonely or whatever. We'll take a pickup truck to wherever you are. Riker donated the truck. We got a driver. We have a musician on the back. It's usually a guitarist and a singer. Sometimes there's a drummer with them. They all are appropriately social distanced from each other, but they get off the back of the truck and they do a little performance. And they go out to neighborhoods, and you can request these online through Can't Stop Columbus. We're paying the musicians because artists need to be paid. And they're a surprise. So it's like a pop-up concert on a cul-de-sac. And they've been such a great hit, and people have been so incredibly touched by this. So, and I thank Jordan Davis for thinking of the idea and this group of people that she's brought together. But it's like been an amazing hit. And it's like a life-changing thing to go out to somebody's home unexpectedly and sing a couple songs in front of their house. And all the neighbors come out for it and everything. So those are the things we've been doing. And then every couple days, we're all on the phone together, me with all the arts organizations. We've testified before the legislative committee. We're talking to our elected officials, people like you, the civic leaders. So, all the strategy around reopening and how do we get reopened and over what period of time and what's going to be expected of us and what's going to be expected of our customers, because people want to get back to it. I mean, we've all been cooped up, but we don't want to do it too soon, and we want to follow the governor's orders and the mayor's orders on this. We're going to follow their leadership on it, and we'll abide by that. We don't want to open too soon. We don't want to have to open and then close again, because that's so complicated, but we want to get everybody back to work in the arts sector.
Well, I know that, serving on the Arts Festival Committee, we had a tough decision to make a few weeks ago, and very heartbreaking because we know how great our arts festival is in Columbus. It's really one of the top ones in the nation, and people look forward to it. But there were a couple of things that we did, I think that sets us apart from other people within the country. We decided to refund everybody's money that had bought booth space. A lot of arts festivals didn't do that, and I think that sets us apart. But can you speak to a little bit about what some of the alternative things that we're trying to do this year and ramping up for 2021's Arts Festival?
Yeah, that's great. And I really appreciate your input on that too, on helping us make that decision. It was just a fraught decision. I mean, because as you just said, the city looks forward to this event, and it brings 500,000 people downtown over 3 days, and it's kind of the first big summer festival, and everyone looks forward to it. And to your point, we did, any artist that wanted refunded, I actually signed those checks yesterday. We sent them back their money because they have to pay a booth fee to us, and they need the money. So we also told all the artists, you can come back next year, so they don't have to go through the jury process. So all the artists that got selected this year can automatically come back next year. Major points with them for allowing that. So between that and the refund. The other thing I want to give some kudos to is a very significant portion of our corporate sponsors allowed us to keep the money this year.
Nice, yeah.
And the American Electric Power Foundation is at the top of that list, but also companies like Bank of America, Cover My Meds, PNC, others let us keep that money. That's significant to us because we would have had a colossal financial loss if not. So I thank those corporations. That also says a lot about the philanthropy in this community. So we're going to have a festival this year. It's not going to be downtown, and I'm not going to give away too many of the secrets, but we're going to do something that week that the city hopefully is going to get engaged with, and it's going to be a lot of fun stuff. Obviously, a lot of it's going to be online, but there's also going to be things that the city can get engaged with at home, basically. So we're working on that. I would urge your listeners to follow us on Instagram. So follow the Columbus Arts Festival on Instagram and follow columbusartsfestival.org. So get signed up for it. You'll see us start to promote this probably the day after Memorial Day, so like May 26th. The festival runs the 12th, 13th, and 14th of June. There'll be all kinds of activities to watch and experience during that period of time. And then, you know, what we always do at the end of each festival is begin to plan for next year. So we got to get ready for next year. We'll have the same group of artists back. And you'll also be able to buy from these artists during the arts festival. So you'll be able to check them out. You want to buy this year, you can also buy next year when the festival comes back.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned loss of revenue, and thankful for our corporate sponsors and that. But, you know, as we know, there's been a lot of talk about the dilapidation of our bed tax, and a lot of funding for the arts comes through that bed tax. What are some of the contingency plans? What do you feel, what can people do if they want to support? And I know we've mentioned a couple other things, but what can they do to support, and what's the future hold for GCAC?
So it's a great question, because as you know, we are the city's arts agency. We are the public arts agency. We are publicly funded. We raise corporate money for the Arts Festival, and we get other private gifts, like I just mentioned, for the Emergency Artist Relief Fund. Our money comes from the city's bed tax, which is basically nil right now. It's not completely zero, but as you know, a lot of the downtown hotels are closed. A lot of the conventions have been canceled, postponed, moved into next year. So there's not that hotel bed tax money for us, Experience Columbus, the convention center, the others that are dependent on it. So that funding source is at zero right now, and will likely be that way maybe for the 6-month period that we're in. The ticket fee, which you helped us get enacted, which directly benefits this organization, it's 5% on every ticket sold for arts, culture, sports, and entertainment in the city of Columbus. That also is at zero right now because there's no events. There's no events. The arts organizations aren't collecting it that have to charge it. There's no events at the arena. There's no sporting events. There's no events at the Schottenstein Center on campus. So 2 of our 3 public funding sources are gone for a short period of time, but it's going to be at least 6 months before those begin to come back. The funding that we do have in place is from the Franklin County Commissioners, which we are very grateful for. That funding is going to allow us to continue to fund the organizations during this period of time. It's not going to be what they would have gotten because the bed tax in 2019 was $7 million to us. That's going to be easily cut in half, if not worse. The ticket fee, this was the first full year of collecting the ticket fee. That's largely going to be gone 9 months of this year, probably. So, but we're going to get money to the organizations. We're going to start that round of funding in May. So we actually have the meetings with 25 large arts organizations. We do them an hour at a time. We're going to do them all on Zoom this year. And we review their financials with them. We get to listen to their plans, and we'll make some funding decisions based on that. But we're going to, because of the county support, the city supports us with the bed tax and the ticket fee, which we will be forever grateful for, and it will come back. It will come back, but it's going to be slow. And then the county money is going to get us through this period of time, not where we want to be by any means. And hopefully the corporate community will help out during this period of time. Also, you saw a week or 2 ago, the Columbus Foundation really stepped up and made $1.5 million in grants to, I think, 68 arts organizations. So we salute Doug Kreidler and his team for that. Our funding for the organizations will come in June. So they got money from the Columbus Foundation in April. They'll get money from GCAC in June. So that'll be helpful. And
a good lifeline, really.
Yeah, yes, it is. That's how I would describe it, as a lifeline. Yeah.
Yeah. If someone wants to find out the latest information from GCAC, where would you direct them?
Absolutely, to gcac.org. And we're in every channel. So I'd follow the Arts Festival, follow Columbus Makes Art, which is our marketing campaign. We have an unbelievable, robust calendar there, which there aren't a lot of events on right now, but when we get back to events, a lot of tips on things to do. Anybody interested in funding, all the grant information is on gcac.org.
Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you again for your service to this organization.
Absolutely. We look forward to watching what's yet to come to replace the Arts Festival this year, some of the fun things that are planned, and certainly wish you and your wife a very safe and healthy time, and look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you. I wish you the same. See ya. Bye.
See ya.